Grand Rising Soul family. Adam Jackson here with another episode of the Sacred Sons podcast. Brothers and sisters, what is the vision you have for your life? Who are you? Where are you going? And who's coming with you? Those words were first spoken to me by our guest today, Darren Silver. Welcoming my brother Darren. Good to see you, brother.
Hey, bro. It's really good to be here with you. It's good to see you.
Yeah, man. I think the last time I saw you was at C7. Is that correct?
Probably. Yeah.
Well, I'm announcing on this podcast, Convergence 8, the return. We're having two sessions. We're having a moon session and a sun session. The moon session is going to be in Edinburgh, Scotland. September 14th through 17th, we've literally reserved a castle and 100 acres for Convergence Scotland. The sun session is October 5th through 8th, Los Angeles, California. Beautiful Camp Waldorf up in Glendale. What do you think about that? You've been with us in C1. Give me just a piece of a Convergence memory, or what's meaningful about Convergence to you.
Wow. I mean, there's so many memories. I think what stands out right now is there's men that I only get to see at Convergence. And so it very much feels like there's deep work happening, but there's also this sense of reunion. Also this sense of like, how's the family? How's the partner? How's life? And that's probably the sweetest part to me. Is I see a lot of guys throughout the year, but there's some that are just at Convergence, and it's like a reunion. It's so sweet. I cherish it.
It's totally become a reunion now. Here we are, 5 years later, and we're calling Convergence 8 the return. And it is just that. It's a return to the land, return to our hearts, return to brotherhood, return to just the friendship. I love that. And so, brothers out there, if you are interested, return to Convergence 8, Scotland, September 14th through 17th, Los Angeles, October 5th through 8th. We will see you there. And with that, our guest today, he's a wilderness rites of passage guide and a myth teller, and he's been with Sacred Sons from the beginning. Please welcome Darren Silver.
Hey, everybody listening. Good to be here.
So what's up, man? I haven't actually dropped in with you, so I just want to get an authentic check-in. What is present with you in your life? How are you, my brother?
Yeah. Well, I start with the land, and it's springtime. And out here in Colorado, we've just been getting so much rain. Everything is so green. Rain out here is like makes everybody drunk. It's so good. It's so rare, and summer's about to turn on, and so everything is just really, really lush. And I'm getting to spend a lot of time outside, a lot of time on the land, and that's present for me. I mean, this morning I was working on my truck, fixing the muffler, and just taking care of business out here. It's good.
Beautiful. I woke up to a misty mountain morning up here in Hamul, outside of San Diego as well. It's kind of like the last bits of moisture we're probably going to get up here as well. And it's so green as well. For me, green is just abundance. Green is life. Green is new life. But there's new life coming through in the form of a soul coming into my family right now as well. So really, really present to that. And, we got some months of gestation happening over here, but more life coming through. Call me a father. Get ready to call me a father of four, bro.
I'm realizing we basically traded places in Maui this early spring. Like I left and then the next day you came in.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out how to squeeze out a few more days, but next time we'll find each other at the same time there.
Yeah. So this question, what is the vision you have for your life? When I think about wild rites, when I think about vision quests, I guess what I want to talk about here is, why is it important for a man to have a vision? I consider myself to be a man with vision in terms of what I'm co-creating in this world and co-creating in my family. With all of the wilderness rites of passage journeys that you've led, why is it important for a man to have a vision?
Yeah. I'm under the influence of the idea that we all came into this world with a gift, with a particular genius, with something to contribute, that if I don't do it, it's simply not going to happen. Or if you don't do it, it's simply not going to manifest in the world. And so there's a deep sense of like responsibility, to show up to our own lives, to belonging to ourselves. And so in the absence of that, it's like, are we really occupying the fullness of our life? Are we taking responsibility for the gifts that we have? And it's an enormous responsibility. And responsibility is like, it's synonymous with like the amount of power that we carry. Like the more power you carry, the more responsibility you'll have. And the more responsibility you carry, the more power you have. And, to live an empowered life, I think it's just like fully incarnating, like fully being here, fully rising to the occasion of living. Yeah. There's so many, it's like so many different ways to approach it.
Let's talk about this word power. I think that's a really, really cool way to think about it, that the more responsibility, I tend to think of it as capacity, and capacitance is another form of power. And that's true. It's like, the more we are able to respond, the more capacity we have, and not necessarily to hold things or to pile on, but the capacity to allow life to flow through us. Right. And that's a good place to be, where our capacity is broad and life is, and we're in the flow. We're in the river. We're not on the banks of the river watching it. We're in the river. To me, that's like, that's power out there on the river.
Yeah. When you do that gesture, I think of fire by friction.
Uh-huh.
So like a bow drill fire, maybe you've seen me crank one out at Convergence or someone. And, that central spindle, it has an ability to participate with the whole of life, so it can spin easily, so it can be in flow. So ultimately that it can create an ember, which in some ways is metaphorically speaking, it can mean the next generation. It can mean life. It can mean vision. It can mean illumination. But it's a real physical, tangible, like it has to flow. It has to be in participation with life. Yeah. And power is tricky. A lot of, I've heard it said often. I don't know if a lot of people say it, but I've heard it said often, that power is like the ability to influence others. Which on some level is true. But coming from the lineage that I come from, power is more phrased of like the ability to hold contradiction. And contradiction, not like in the absence of blame or conflict or shame, or self-betrayal, but just simply contradiction. Maybe power lives between contradiction, and maybe the more contradictions we can hold, the more power exists within us. And to me, that's like inviting in this incredible, the amount of participation that life is doing with itself, and us residing in that. It's like Tyson Yunkaporta talks about like the difference between growth and increase. It's like, can we increase the amount of relationality we have with the whole of life? Jumping in deep, Adam. Didn't mean to go here so fast.
No. This is good. This is good.
Yeah.
This is a good place to be. You know, when I hear that piece called contradiction, what I hear is the light and the dark, the sun and the moon, the contrast, right? And how within the all there is contrast, stark contrast. One cannot exist without the other. And the acknowledgement of that and the ability to hold that, I feel like that's also power.
Yeah, completely.
You know what I mean?
Totally. And the tricky thing is our desire for certainty, our desire to know, our desire to have it all right now. And that's what, we often consider as power, those who know the most about something. But what if we can trade that for certainty, for a sense of responsibility, or a sense of awareness, or a sense of deep participation with life,
or a sense of acknowledging the unknown with trust.
Exactly.
And so when you take these men out on wilderness rites of passage, just to bring it back, that's what's happening. That's what's happening. They're entering the unknown with some sense of trust, right? And that's a big responsibility for you, I imagine.
Yeah.
To lead others into the unknown of themselves.
Yeah. And the unknown of the wilderness.
And the unknown of the wilderness. Yeah.
You know, there's lots of responsibility with those that are participating. Because, I prepare them the best that I can as a group and individually to have that conversation, to learn communication with the wild. And for them to feel grounded enough to then open up to the unknown. That's the sweetest thing. And it's often like, people will go out with a particular question or something that they need clarity on. And in the first 5 minutes, the answer comes. And then they're like, okay, well, what do I do now for the rest of this time?
You're like, oh, we got 3.5 days left out here. What am I going to do?
Exactly. And that's when the magic happens.
This has been coming through the channels a lot lately. Sometimes intention gets in the way, because when you go into ceremony with an intention, it's almost a presumption that you know what you need, that you know what the universe has in store for you.
In some way, intention, one way to frame it is intention is just a beautiful offering that gets devoured by the end of the ceremony. I don't even know where it went. It just got eaten up by the spirits, by the land.
Right.
And, hanging on to it can cause a lot of trouble. Tunnel vision. We get focus locked. So there is that relationship between deep focus, but also we must also have that relationship with surrender.
Yeah.
They're kind of dance partners, focus and surrender, especially out in the wilderness. Like we offer something, but then we have to surrender so we're empty enough to receive what comes back. Yeah. If we're hanging on to the attention too tightly, then there's no space for a response from life to fill us.
So what was a moment or the moment where you first surrendered to the wilderness? We're of a similar generation here, and we come from this modern culture. Both of us were, you know what I'm saying? We have different backgrounds, but we're out here. When was that moment where you surrendered to the wilderness?
Gosh, I feel like there's been several. I'll speak like a real physical, tangible one first, which I've already kind of brought up, is fire by friction, with a bow drill or a hand drill. It's so desperately wanting fire and not being able to do it. I mean, when I was learning that process, I had to completely surrender to the physicality of it, to the presence of making fire, to the skill involved. I mean, it required so much surrender, and it took me a long time to get it. I looked like Popeye. One of my arms was just so much bigger than the other. I was just working it, man.
Hilarious.
So that's like, that aspect of things.
I wonder though, you said this word skill, right? Like you're developing the skill, but I wonder if it isn't more about developing a relationship.
Completely.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And something, I'm going to kind of launch off and hopefully circle back. One of the things about our relationship with fire is most of us are in contact with it every day.
Yeah.
Cooking breakfast, driving the car, turning on our light switch. And behind that is that element. But there's so many degrees of separation between us and the purity of that element that we often miss our own participation in it. We miss the original instructions of that element. And so when we work with a bow drill, we're all of a sudden in direct contact. There's not all those degrees of separation. And the ones that are things that we've harvested, things that we've carved, things that we spent time in preparing. So it's like several moving parts, but we're in relationship with all of them simultaneously. So it does have, the skill does involve a lot of relationship. I mean, carving a bow drill is the physical form of prayer, or making a basket, or making a clay mug. Those are physical representations of a prayer behind it. So totally about relationship. And the second thing I was going to say was the first time I really had to surrender was the first quest that I did. And I can't remember, 23, 24. So we're talking 17, 18, 16 years ago. And I'd done a lot of things, I'd completed things in my life, but I remember sitting there having such an incredibly hard time and going, well, I can just walk down the mountain. There's food down there. There's comfort of another human or several down there. And it dawned on me, I was like, well, I don't know if I've ever completed something that required this much vulnerability. This much like being just filleted by life. And ultimately I had to start. I remember a coyote came up and was just yapping at me, and I was like, so in my head, like, oh man, I so want some food. That'd be so good. And, all the things, not just food. I'm talking like, I kind of joke when people go on wild rites, it's like everybody writes a cookbook up there.
Do they? Because you start thinking about all the things.
The things. I come down, I'm gonna make the best enchiladas. It's gonna look like this and then that, and it's like just you're gonna do it. Get over it. Give some space for it. But that coyote was just yapping at me, and I love the coyote a lot. And in some ways, it was like teasing me. And I really deeply had to surrender. I had to go deeper in myself than I'd ever gone before. I had to access and occupy places within me to find the strength. So that was the surrender, the first time. And it like continues to happen. I mean, it happened Saturday night at Sweat Lodge. It was like, get me out of here,
It comes back. And the surrender happens over and over, and sometimes unexpectedly when you didn't even know you were in ceremony, but you asked for it. But what I wanted to get from you is like, what was those early moments for you, and the bow drill and the first quest for you? That's helpful, 16 years ago to know that you were going through it too. And you mentioned this piece around the fasting and the challenging nature of that, and I feel like it's a time where so many are focused on taking a substance, consuming something in order to have a spiritual experience. I can name them, but I don't have to. But what's really powerful and what many cultures have always known is it's actually abstinence that provides the deepest spiritual connection. It's not in necessarily ingesting or taking something to transform your consciousness. It's actually in abstaining from that which gives us life, that gets us closer to the all.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, where I go with it is like how often, regardless of the ceremonial context or the beauty or the power, or the insight that comes from certain spiritual paths, but how often do we seek something external to find something internal? And that's what the fasting does, is it cleans us out enough to find those navigation points in our interior, in a way that is, in wild rites or quests, people don't often realize how far they've gone, how thin the veil is between them and the world, how vulnerable, how open, how clear, until the return, until they hit pavement, until they like fill up gas at the gas station and walk in and go, holy shit, I was like way, way out there. And way out there is perhaps not the best phrase.
Yeah, but there is a sense of culture shock that comes with the return.
Yeah. And when I think about like, this is just an easy example, but when I think about plant medicines, it's like you come down, it's like, whoa, I went way out there. I just got blasted away. And quest is far more subtle in relationship to that. It's, we don't often realize that till we return. So it's,
do you feel like it's not I was so far out there. I was so deep in there. Is
exactly.
It kind of like, it's like
Yeah.
I was so deep in myself.
Yeah. 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 And a clear channel, a really, really clear channel. And it's so natural. So that's one thing. And then like, men have for thousands of years on every continent, men have gone out into the wilderness alone to mark something in their lives, to have a conscious, deliberate, and dangerous experience, to find their own edge. And so it's not that we reenact other cultures, but the simple act of sitting in a circle around a fire, being together into the wilderness and looking at each other going, wow, we're all getting ready to do this same thing. It touches something that's ancient in us. It's so ancient. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the contrast, the contradiction again. That danger is vital to be on the edge, the precipice of life and death.
Yeah.
That is another, I think that's why it's illuminating, is because it has to be dangerous.
Yeah, it does.
So what type of a man is ready for this? What type of a space do you see these guys coming in? And then, and what happens when they leave?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways that guys show up to this. One is they've tried everything else.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Another is like, what I track when I talk with guys is like, is there a call? Is there something that's like pulling you deep inside, and you may not know what it is, but you're feeling a tug. There's this sense of like, I have to do this. I really listened for that. Some of the general ways, it's like, there's different thresholds that we experience in life. I mean, it's not your first, but there's another threshold coming. You're getting ready to have another kid. And, it's like we have those thresholds. We have those, starting a new job, leaving a job, about to get married, a death in the family, a loss of a partner. So in these thresholds, our culture, or so-called culture, doesn't really honor those thresholds well. And so this, guys that usually show up are wanting some type of ritual and community acknowledgement of a threshold that they've just crossed or about to cross, or happened 20 years ago and they never dealt with.
I see that all the time in the work.
Yeah.
Guys with uncelebrated triumphs, uninitiated, into this big chapter of their life, but they never got a chance to even really be witnessed in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happens a lot, happens a lot.
And just to put it plainly, I would say the initiations of our current culture, like driver's license at 16 for young boys anyways, and drinking at 21, but you really already started drinking before that. College, and the graduations. I mean, it's not to the depth of what's been happening through all around the world, through various cultures, like you mentioned. Yeah. Like it's necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting. Last night I was at a friend's, it was actually their kid, 3-year-old birthday party. And at like 8, 9 o'clock, it turned into the adult birthday party. And I mean, basically just a fire and singing and hanging. And it went late. Anyways, I was coming home late, and I live kind of in a rural area, and I hit a stoplight, and I was like, there's nobody out here, and I was sitting there at the stoplight going, man, when I was a teenager, I would have just blown through this. And, talking about this is like, I was thinking about this last night, like there was a real desire to encounter danger. The silly things I did,
yes.
when I was a teenager, just to find that sense of rapture, that sense of healthy danger. And so, in a lot of ways that shows up for men too. They want to encounter that. They want to see what they're made of. And
and like you're saying, sometimes it comes in the form of like breaking the rules.
Yeah.
That's what we encounter. I feel like when I was a teenager, that's what it was about too. Smashing windows, going to an old warehouse and throwing rocks through windows, that kind of stuff. I used to write graffiti. I wrote graffiti. I skateboarded. I grinded on curbs that I was not supposed to grind. You know what I'm talking about?
I do. Yeah.
And this is different though, because when we're talking about rites of passage, it's about discovering that there are no rules out here. Mm-hmm. That it's you and nature, and that is it. Yeah. When you're out there are no rules.
Yeah.
Is that making sense?
It makes sense. I mean, what I would say that the rules are the laws of creation.
Ooh.
That we abide by.
Yeah.
And that comes when a bear shows up at your spot. And it's like,
that bear ain't following no rules.
Exactly. Or it's abiding by its nature so purely that all of a sudden it reflects ours, and more importantly, what's in the way of ours. That what we're putting in place to keep us between life. And that's probably the most powerful thing, is nature is pretty much always acting like itself. and we humans can lie all the time. So to be in contact and immersed in the expression of what is all the time, then it naturally draws out what is for us, who we are, in a very pure way. And animal encounters are just incredible for that.
What kind of animals have you encountered out there in the wilderness? You said the coyote.
Man. Rattlesnakes, bears, moose. And moose may seem like gentle little dopey guys, but they're pretty intense. They're very unpredictable, and they're huge.
They're massive.
Bobcat, mountain lion. And I saw a bear just the other day at my place, 30 feet from me.
Dude, let me share this with you. Johan, my 1-year-old. We live out here east San Diego, so we're in the high desert.
Yeah. There's a lot of rattlesnakes out there.
I'm about to tell you about one in particular. We're getting out of the car, getting out of the minivan, because that's what I roll in. And I got out, I walk around the other side. Hannah's getting Johan out. She puts him on the ground. She comes around the side to Holland and goes back and just screaming like I've never heard her scream. Like highest pitch, loudest. Johann, as he had gotten put on the ground, 1 year old, picks up a baby rattlesnake. Its head's like this. And listen, baby rattlesnakes are the most dangerous because they don't control their venom. So if you get a bite by a baby rattlesnake, that's like, it's one shot. This is baby versus baby, but he's gripping this thing hard as shit, dude. He grips things very hard. He's got a strong grip. And its head was there and its little tail's down here. And Hannah screams, he drops it. I grab a shovel, bop, and chop its head off. And, panic ensues. But what happened is we got this big adrenaline burst, but nothing happened. Nothing happened. He didn't get bitten. He didn't know what he was doing. He was just picking up a snake, and we're just left with this energy of like all that could have gone wrong, but didn't. And so then it's like, man, what is the lesson in that? Like, what is this trying to tell us? And the fear response, of course, came through the mother, came through the feminine. We need to get the fuck out of here. Hey, I'm done living in the desert now. It's time to go. But for me, as I'm burying this rattlesnake in the backyard, I'm just thinking like, thank you. Like, I'm so protected. We are so protected that my 1 year old son can pick up a rattlesnake, bro, and not have anything happen. and so as I'm doing this, and I, in my own way, because it's the only way I know, is I just blew a little smoke on it and buried it. And they tell you to bury them because the other snakes can smell it if you encounter another snake and leave it there if you kill one. So I'm just burying it, blow a little smoke, and I feel nothing but gratitude. I feel zero fear because I've already been shown that we're so blessed and we're so protected, And it's been sitting with me till this day. And then a week later, we had some friends over. There was a gopher snake in the yard. Yeah, we picked up my buddy Luke. He's like a snake wrangler. Picks up the gopher snake, and then we let Hannah hold the gopher snake to kind of like complete the cycle. And I held the snake, and we kind of just again came back into that sense of like getting back into that flow. Like I was saying in the beginning, nature is so powerful. But are we going to be in the flow with it, or are we going to stand against it? Yeah. So that's what happened to me. What happened with you and the bear?
Oh my God. I have so many stories. Or actually,
what I would ask you is like, what would you say? What does that mean for this boy to pick up a rattlesnake and,
Yeah. I mean,
Hercules slayed 3 rattlesnakes in his crib.
There we go. Yeah, it's prophetic, man, what this kid's going to grow up to be, Yeah, I mean, I just think of like, I was struck by the sense of the original innocence of the child. This original innocence to and who knows if that was like a real, I don't know how to say it, like, childish thing to do, or it was a childlike and original innocence of knowing that, having a relationship that maybe Johann wasn't, putting out any fear. And
exactly.
And the snake didn't respond. I mean, that's one thing I think about. Another thing I think about is like that fear response from Hannah and you.
Yes.
That's natural. That's like that's a natural thing. And it made me wonder about like how often we misappropriate fear. Like if there's a mountain lion stalking me, like it's a natural response that our nervous system would say, like something, I'm in danger here. But how often do we misappropriate that for something that actually doesn't exist? So I was thinking about that, and there's time. I mean, it's like there's a kids camp up the road in the mountains up here, and they asked me to come and teach the staff kind of some safety and danger about mountain lions and bears and snakes and stuff like that. And, it's a bunch of like 20, 25-year-old girl college students. I start talking, and all of a sudden they're like totally freaked out, of like, well, this is what a bear does. if it is threatened, X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, man, my intention is totally not to freak them out. And so I had to kind of like change it a little bit and say, hey, like, what would it be like after seeing a bear to sit down and draw what it looks like with the kids? If you see a gopher snake, or it's very similar, we call them bull snakes out here, what would it be like to draw them afterwards and help bring that through our system? Because we're often really afraid of the wild, but most of the time a bear is just slumping along, doing its thing, and don't have much to do with us. So anyway, those are some thoughts to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to. It's funny because Johan's screaming now, as I just told the story. But I think it's important to notice the signs and to contemplate them. What I don't think is important is to say, like, I know what that meant. What I think is important is the process of contemplation.
Yeah.
And that's what ceremony brings us. That's what living a life of doing inner work, a sacred life, a life of prayer. I think that's what it gives us. It gives us a sense of contemplation that fills the imagination. At least for me, it fills my imagination with wonder of like, what is this offering me?
Yeah. 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 And it's so important to have those questions, to ask the questions, like on all levels, the physical level, the emotional level, the spiritual level. And oftentimes, like, I'll see this sometimes as someone will see a bald eagle or a golden eagle or a heron or a bear or a bobcat and immediately will go to the spiritual. And it's like, wait a second, like, how many stripes did it have on its leg? What was it doing? How was it responding to your smell? Did you notice that? And then we really drop into a level of relationship that I really value. And, how I frame it is like, when a bear is not acting like a bear, or an eagle is not acting like an eagle would normally act, then it probably has a message for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not that I don't learn from what it's doing. I totally do, and get in deep relationship with its patterns, its behavior. But I'm also not like lost in the metaphor of it, but I'm like actually really rooted in the physicality of everything. And then when something is like really strange, it's like, whoa, that bear is not acting like a bear normally acts. Or an owl shows up in the middle of the day and sits on my railing of my porch. It's like, that's not normal. Okay, I better really pay attention here.
Yeah.
So that's how I like to frame it. So in the context of wild rites, the whole thing has an auspicious intention. And so animals that do show up are significant.
Yeah.
And there's some brothers, I'm hesitant to share their names, but
for sure,
that are close in the Sacred Sons community and that have had incredibly powerful experiences with animals showing up. Where they've brought really, really big lessons. And
do you interpret visions as a part of, do you guys circle up afterwards and share?
Yeah, we do. There is a sharing and less of an, I wouldn't say I interpret them. I would say that I help clarify what people are saying and really reflect back to them. So it's really heard. So what they come down, what their return is, that it's deeply acknowledged. And that's incredibly important. That a group of people, especially ones that have had such a profound shared experience, that there's a container to really receive, to be received. Because out in the world, I mean, it's like, there's a couple people. There's those that are going to discount what you say. And that is excruciating, to share something so beautifully and it be discounted. Then there's, those that are actually feeling the same call and are going, what was that like? because they themselves are curious. They're feeling it too, and they want to know a little bit more. And then there's, those that look and see you and go, oh yeah. I know. Some shit went down, let's go get a burger. Let's have a good time. Something like that. Or something like that. Yeah, for sure. And they would just know. They're close with us. We don't need to ask many questions, So that reflection period, I typically don't interpret, but I can help clarify.
Yeah. And, I guess this would be an important thing to touch on. What's different about wild rites versus a traditional vision quest, maybe a Lakota vision quest or that type of a ceremony? What makes wild rites unique and a part of, the piece that you're bringing?
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's no cultural protocol in wild rites. There's no cultural teachings that take place from a particular peoples. And also, oftentimes in traditional quests, there's a duration of time that one is committing to. It's different. Sometimes it's 3 years, sometimes it's 4 years, sometimes it's 7 years commitment. And if people are really drawn to that, then that's available, but Wild Rites gives an opportunity for those that are able to only take a certain amount of time off work and are not devoting to a particular cultural path, but are able to have that wilderness experience. When I was an undergrad, I studied anthropology, and there was this anthropological article of this anthropologist that was in Alaska with the natives up there. I believe it was the Inuit. And they were talking about communication, particularly with the bears, the grizzly bears and polar bears. And this woman was talking about picking berries and saying, oh yeah, we talk to the bears and we make agreements with them that, like, we're going to leave some for you and you're not going to, try to hurt us or eat us or scare us off. We have an agreement. And the anthropologist was so struck by that. So wait a second, you talk to the wildlife, you talk to the bears? And she said, yeah, in our culture, if we don't hear the voices of the animals, then we have to see the shaman. And so there's something about, like, our baseline humanity that I don't think is activated in most of us, in modern folk, that going on a wild rites is just an opportunity to get back to the fullness of being a human. It's not a path of learning how to be a shaman. It's not a cultural initiation. It's like, can we establish that baseline of being in relationship again with the natural world? And that's one of my intents. And simultaneously, vision comes along with that. And I can unpack what I mean by that a little bit more, if you're curious, but that's my intent, like, can we learn how to be human again? And we're beyond the point of, like, needing to do that. There's consequences of people viewing nature as abstractly or separate. It's like we're going out there and being with the earth, and we're abstaining from everyday life to be able to do that. So,
yeah, I'd like to acknowledge that a lot of times we point out the consequences collectively. Global warming, like the food system, the seed crisis. Pick your particular protest, I guess. But the consequence on the individual that you're speaking to, this is often goes on unspoken. And I learned from, I think it was Dr. Martin Shaw when I was talking to him. He was telling me that it takes 4 days for us to lose our sense of modernity and to reconnect to nature and to reconnect to what it means to be human in our bodies. And so that's the sense that I would say this is not a retreat, but this is not something that is like, oh, that would be cool to do. I think it's a necessity at this point with how integrated we are with technology and with not only the screens, but even just the walls. My God, we're like, our depth of field is coming in closer and closer by the minute to now they've got you in a damn mask. Like, what does it mean to just look out for miles and miles for 4 days?
Yeah.
What does that do to the eyes? How does that relax the whole nervous system?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. This is not something that is, it's becoming a requirement because of how immersed we are into this industrial technological age.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's beautiful studies out there of like, cancer fighting cells in our body or white blood cells and like 36 hours or 48 hours immersed in nature, the increase of those cells in our body, like on a physical level, like everything wakes up and begins to orient towards health. Our circadian rhythms balance out. And I mean, we're really overrun by technology in a way. And the beautiful thing, man, is when we're out there and we don't have service, and all of a sudden a question comes up. I call it Google consciousness, right? We all have Google consciousness. I want the answer. We can Google it, and then boom, we forget the damn answer in like 20 minutes.
Totally.
If that.
Totally.
But when we get out there and a question comes up, all of a sudden it begins going around the circle. Like, I don't know. And then we start really investigating it. And there's like real curiosity that's developed. And, it becomes like a living, dynamic meditation, really deep inquiry to something. And that's reciprocal to the inquiry of our own souls, Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a beautiful point that you're illuminating, because just as hippies like to take the signs from animals, I'm including myself in that because, I like to go, I like to daydream. And so we see that hawk. Oh my God, it's so meaningful. Yet here I am sitting next to my brother around a fire. Why don't I have that same sense of inquiry for my brother? Or for this brotherhood, for this group of men around that fire. And that ignites us inside as well, to come back into the sense of I'm not zoning out and binge watching Netflix on these people I'm not connected to. I'm like actually diving in deep with real human beings. The greatest form of technology that we've ever known, another human sitting right in front of us. And that's a special thing in this day and age too.
So much. And I mean, that's the beauty of people coming down the mountain or going out, but people come back and they're carrying really deep, profound insights.
Yeah.
That are, I don't want to say universal because they're not, but it's like every man gets touched by it. It's they're coming down with a clarified insight, a clarified gift. One guy. Vision. A couple of years ago, a guy in Wild Rites came down. He goes, "Man, this was better than 10 years of therapy."
Woo!
And
I believe it.
And I think a big part of it was that it was shared. It was collective. There's so many stories that are humorous and beautiful and profound. I mean, it's like laugh so hard we fall off the logs that we're sitting on and cry so much that that our tears run clean.
Yeah.
That they run clean.
I know there's a lot of stories, but here we are. We're coming to the close of this. Can you leave us with one story? This could be a myth. This could be whatever you want, but is there some form of a story that you would be willing to share with us today?
Yeah, I'm like tempted between like a story of a quester that's beautiful and funny and and real. Or a question or a story that really comes from, the lineage that I carry. So maybe I'll tell both real quick.
I'm here for it.
So I just want to offer up so much gratitude to Tom Brown Jr., which my journey started when I was a teenager, but I first studied with him when I was 20.
Who is Tom Brown Jr.? So
he's got the Tracker School out in New Jersey. And he was mentored by a man named Stalking Wolf, Lippin Apache, and really quickly became known to Tom and to all of his students as grandfather. And so Tom has a school. It's, probably going on like 50 years now. And it continues to inform me and change my life. And so his grandfather, received a vision in his 20s. And he wandered. He wandered for 63 years, wanting to fulfill that vision. And he had a vision of coming upon a young boy collecting fossils in a creek bed. And he looked for 63 years, and he knew that it would be that boy that he passed on all his teachings to.
Oh, wow.
And grandfather was in his 80s when he met Tom, and Tom was 7 or 8 years old, collecting fossils in a stream bed. And for 11 years, grandfather passed everything on to Tom.
Wow.
And so it's like deep gratitude to grandfather, to Tom Brown, to John Young, who's really carrying the lineage in a deep way. And just to say that, like, preparation is so important. Like, that grandfather essentially was in preparation for 63 years. Preparation never ends. We're always preparing for now. And for now. And for this moment. It's preparation. And what they say at the Tracker School is preparation is the journey is the vision, and the vision is now. Preparation is the journey is the vision, and the vision is now.
The vision is now.
So that's just a story that carries me,
Yeah.
And so there's another story. There's this man that went out, and there's a ritual I give him that they have to confront the darkness in some way at night. Go to the edge of where their space is, their questing space. And then they confront the darkness in their lives. It's not real evil darkness. I'm not talking about that, but it's confronting the darkness. And this guy, he's out there day one. He goes, yeah, I'm going to do that. And I see a spot down there where there's a circle of willows. It's kind of creating a circle, and there's a little place to go in there. And second day, he goes, yeah, not today. And I think I've done my work. I miss my family. I'm ready to go home. And third day, he wakes up and he's like, yeah, I think I'm done, but dang, I really need to do this. And the sun is setting and night is approaching, and he's looking at this place where he wants to do this. And he had to summon a lot of courage. He realized that he was trying to get out of it, see his family, and be done with it. And right before the sun dipped behind the mountains, a deer comes out of the trees, looks at him, and walks into that circle. And literally walks the circle, touching its nose to the edge of the circle, comes out, walks out, and looks at him, and disappears back into the forest. Wow. And he's like, okay, I have to do this. So sometime in the night, I don't know how far into the night, he walks in there. And he goes in and he stays there all night long, confronting, meeting, metabolizing all of the darkness inside of him. He was terrified. Jaws were chattering until he's complete. And he made it pretty much to sunrise. And his burden is so light that he's feeling radiant. And he says to himself, I feel so free. I'm going to get naked and stand on this rock. And he's standing on this rock, in the sunshine fully, and he had carved this beautiful staff, carved his story into it. And he's standing there, like a warrior poet, in the sunshine. And all of a sudden he hears this voice behind him. Excuse me? And he turns around and it's like this 70-year-old lady standing there. And he's full frontal view, and he's standing there with his staff. And she looks at him and she looks down, and she looks at him, at his face, and looks down. And she goes, I'm totally lost.
Oh, no.
I'm lost on the trail. I don't know where I am. And he goes, and then he realizes he's naked, and she's, a little embarrassed, and he kind of covers himself up, and he says, oh yeah, if you go this way, you'll, I think there's a trail down that way, and that may take you where she's going and where you're going. And she says, okay, thank you. She turns around, she walks away, and he's watching her walk away, and she gets about 20 paces, and she turns around and she looks at him and she goes, I want you to know you're a very brave man. He turns and keeps walking. Those mysteries happen.
Wow.
He got blessed. He got blessed. He went through it, and this mysterious, elderly, gray-haired woman. To this day, he says she was real, but who knows where she came from. She came and blessed him and said, you're a brave man.
I think the deer spirit and her spirit are one and the same,
Probably the same. So yeah, those are some stories,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that, that's, I just want to acknowledge you, Darren, for bringing this sense and this wisdom and, all that it takes to bring these rites of passage along with sacred sons and the work that we do. Because as we're doing this initiatory work and we're building the brotherhood, it is these rites of passage that are so needed. So I'm really grateful that we're going on this now for as many years as we have been, and that it's here, and that men now have a place to go when needed for that threshold crossing.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. And thanks for saying that. Deeply received, and so much gratitude to Sacred Sons, to you, to when I say Sacred Sons, it's all the men that show up.
It's all of us. That's what's.
And and it's wild, man, because maybe I'll see you a couple times a year, but consistently it's once a year at Convergence, and we go, wow, man, you got gray in your beard, and wow, man, I got gray going on over here, and there's something about doing this and seeing each other step into our own shoes, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful to have history.
Not only is it beautiful to have history, it's beautiful to have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
It's beautiful that when we come back into contact, some of us have had new life. Some of us have lost parents, have lost loved ones. Some of us have been thriving and achieving. Others have been suffering.
Yeah.
And broadly, I would just say hey, I see my brothers on the rise, I really do. And it is because we have these checkpoints, we have these drop-ins. It's important as men also, there's a big story out there for a lot of men, and I know because I was in it, that no one actually cares. No one's got me. Maybe no one gets me. And so for us in this brotherhood, whether you're a founder of it, whether you're a leader in it as you are, whether you're a creator in it as you are, or whether you're a participant in it, we all have this sense of togetherness that just keeps us moving forward in a good way in this life.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the invitation. If you're a brother out there and this is resonating with you, if you've been missing this threshold, this rites of passage experience in your life alongside other men, it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's time. I was talking to somebody the other day and they said, what's the warrior archetype? And kind of from my hips, I said, well, if you want to be a warrior, you got to know what you're fighting for, and you got to know who your people are.
Damn.
And there's something about that having a sense of brotherhood, having a sense of community gives us a chance to know what is worth fighting for, what's worth protecting, and Sacred Sons does that for so many men. Wild Rites does that for so many men. And I just want to give a shout out to Jason, to J-Mac.
Yeah.
Because we grew up together. He's the one who wove me into Sacred Sons in the beginning. And so shout out to him, and also to Kale, who holds different but similar ceremonial rites of passage aspect in Sacred Sons, and such a dear brother.
Maui Mana is another rites of passage.
Maui Mana, and just love that man so much. So, yeah. And of course, Adam, thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, man. It's always great to drop in. No doubt I'll be seeing you at some point in this year. Convergence 8. One of these days you're going to get me out there with you on Wild Rites. That's for sure.
All right.
And as you said, I got another threshold coming, so.
Yeah.
There's always more, there really is. All right, Darren, appreciate you. Gosh, we covered some ground, bro. I'm looking at my notes here. We covered some ground. Responsibility, power, Tom Brown, preparation. We're in it. Yeah. And in these times, I just want to say again, because summer's coming, the heat of summer is coming, truly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talk and there's a lot of energy being built up of what's going to happen. And so again, what is the vision you have for your life? And I just love this. I love this. Man, every time we talk, by the way, you give me things that I will say in the future. And you'll probably, I'll be saying in the future, I'll always shout you out, but do you know what you're fighting for? And do you know who your people are? Come on. Yeah. This is powerful.
Yeah, baby. That's right.
Yes.
Love to see you folks on Wild Rites. It's mid-July. Yes. I don't know the exact dates off the top of my head. Yeah.
Mid-July. If you're interested, please go to sacredsons.com, click on Wild Rites, sign up now. If you feel it, sign up now. Let's go. Get out there with Darren. With that, Darren Silver, Adam Jackson, Sacred Sons. We're out, family. Peace.
Peace.